I love something that's laid out formally. I love that kind of contrast between the formal laying out of something and the explosion and chaos of experience. Well, I took it from the phrase that was used to describe the early dictionaries. So they were called hard word books. And it was really to help people get a grasp of words that they wouldn't usually use. And I just thought it was a good way of expressing what I was trying to do, but there was also a sense of irony. So the words that I've chosen to use, they are usually considered hard words, but I'm trying to say we could look at these in a different way. I'm excited by the power of language, but also at the fact that it falls short of what we want it to do for us. My mother's from Norway, and as a child I was very conscious that her grasp of English wasn't quite the same as everyone else's around me, and that's always intrigued me as to whether she understood what I was saying to her. That's sort of an underlying thing within my work, that sense of, are we really communicating what we're intending to say? I'm kind of working in a way that the old lexicographers used to work. So I'm putting together an array of words and I'm fixing them in place. So I will get a dictionary, I'll leaf through it and I'll start finding words that jump out at me. I cut them with a scalpel, so it's a very meticulous, laborious, time-consuming way of working. I have been influenced by feminist artists, and as a woman as well, I'm interested in the way that we're labelled and offered up in society, and I think dictionaries have a very particular role to play in that. The female interpretation of language is a very emotional thing, whereas the male interpretation is a more ordered approach, so ordering the chaos. It's the idea that something like a dictionary or a phrase book fixes the word as this. So this is a sentence, this is the definition of that word. If as a poet you want to describe something that is very visceral, that is filling your body, and you look for a word, and you look for the definition, I see it as a kind of deadening experience. So if you want to look, I mean, I'm talking very sexually, but I suppose that's a very sort of full experience. So if you're looking for the word orgasm, how do you find a word that explains that as a woman? How do you find a word that explains that feeling? So I find them quite frustrating, but also very beautiful things. I've always liked dirty words. I've always liked placing them in conversation when they're not expected. Not because I want to upset or abuse anyone. It's just I love language and I love the feeling of them in the mouth. I love the physical impact of certain words. So if you look at the pistol piece, for instance, if you look at it, you can imagine the sound of the pistol going off. There's that crack, that sound, that noise. When I'm placing the text together, it becomes almost like a poem. So if you read it aloud, there's an energy, there's a rhythm. I find one word, then I get another. I lay them out, and it's being laid like a poem. So it's language that should be spoken, it's language that should be heard, and it's also language that creates images in the mind. So it's short, but it's also encouraging people to look at language that has this richness, that has this very three-dimensional quality. I wanted it to be something that's throwing shadows, that is quite anarchic and uncomfortable, and yet it's ordered and calm. It's only when people get close to it they see that they could almost get a slap in the face. You have to be willing to engage, and then you realise that there's more to it, there's more chaos, and there's perhaps more beauty than you realise.